They said it was a ghost signal, a leftover echo from a long-dead civilization, bouncing across the dark like an old thought that refused to fade. And yet, when the message reached our edge of the galaxy, it wasn't garbled static or rhythmic pulses. It was structured, deliberate, a full bandwidth stream of code laced with emotion, sadness, curiosity, and warning. The crew of the research vessel Cassandra 9 was the first to respond. 10 souls trained to decode the unknowable, to traverse silence and find meaning in the void. We arrived in the null sector, a patch of space charted as empty. No stars, no planets, not even dust, just cold, gravitational inertia. But at its center floated something impossible. A construct, obsidian black, orbiting an invisible axis. No engines, no power signature, just a vast alien station shaped like an unfurled bloom, petals curled outward in perfect symmetry. It was ancient, that much we knew, older than language, older than life maybe, and it was listening not to us but to something deeper in space. As we docked, the airlock accepted us without resistance, and the internal gravity adjusted for human motion with eerie precision. But no life signs, no lights, no sounds, just corridors stretching like veins in a petrified heart. Captain Alara made the call. We would split into teams and map the station. That was our first mistake, assuming we could break this thing into manageable parts. It wasn't a structure, it was a mind, and we had entered it. Inside, the walls didn't echo. They absorbed. Our footsteps faded as if time itself was being muffled. Then the strange hallucinations began. Lights that blinked behind closed eyelids. Voices in languages that rewrote themselves mid-sentence. One crewman, Rios, collapsed, whispering numbers that matched the rotation of neutron stars on the far edge of the Andromeda Rift. Numbers he had no way of knowing. Still, we pressed on. Curiosity is a hunger, not a virtue. And when we reached what we thought was the central archive, a vast hollow chamber with floating crystalline spires, the truth began to shimmer through the cracks. The alien signal wasn't a broadcast. It was a distress call. But not from the ones who built this place. From the ones who were trapped inside it. The beacon hadn't been sent to lure us. It had been screaming to keep us away. And now we were inside. And the doors were remembering how to close. We didn't hear the door close. It didn't grind or clang or whisper. It was just no longer open. One moment, the entry lock was a silhouette behind us. The next, it had become part of the wall, seamless, absorbed. Commander Veil tapped it twice, expecting resistance, and recoiled as his hand sank into the surface like mist hitting ice. Not solid. Not fluid. Not anything. Just memory, calcified and patient. And that was when we realized the base wasn't merely reacting to us, it was learning from us. Names spoken out loud began to ripple through the walls seconds later, softly like breath exhaled in reverse. My own voice came back to me minutes after I had stopped speaking, wrapped in accents that were not mine. The hallway ahead stretched into darkness, but the air was warm. Humid. Like lungs breathing from somewhere deep within. Alara led the way and I followed with the others, 5 of us now. Rios remained sedated near the docking chamber, monitored by the medical AI, still mumbling star coordinates. He wouldn't stop bleeding from his eyes. No visible trauma. Just a reaction like the base was peeling something from him no one else could see. We left supplies. But I knew we wouldn't see him again. Down the corridor, light began to pulse. Not from bulbs or fixtures. It came from the walls themselves, fibrous, organic lines pulsing in soft tones that matched our heartbeats. First synchronized with Alara. Then mine. Then Veil. And then it stopped syncing. The beat began to slip, growing louder, faster, more frantic until it felt like someone else's panic was wearing our skin from the inside. Lyra, our linguist, suddenly screamed. She pointed to the ceiling, but we saw nothing. Her lips moved rapidly, no sound. I tried to calm her, but she was stuck, repeating one word, archivist. We hadn't said that word. None of us had. And yet, in that moment, it felt inevitable, as if it had always been waiting in the back of our minds, just waiting to surface. The corridor bent sharply, and the further we walked, the stranger gravity felt. Up and down stopped being directions. We floated at times. Sank at others. The base was beginning to rearrange its interior for us or around us. I couldn't tell which. When we reached a chamber lined with glass panels, the lights blinked in recognition. Not motion-activated, but memory-triggered. They flashed images from our personal lives. Earth, childhood homes, people we had buried, pets we hadn't thought of in decades. Elara froze at the image of her brother missing in the Triton collapse. She reached out. Her hand passed through it, but for a moment her skin shimmered with the same hue as the base's veins. It had pulled the image directly from her mind. We knew then what this place was. Not a base, not a ruin, but a prison for consciousness. And it was feeding. We thought we were exploring a place, a structure, an artifact. But the deeper we walked, the more it felt like we were inside something else, not metal, not stone. A perspective, a consciousness arranged in geometry. It didn't follow logic. The corridor from the memory chamber opened to a domed space without seams or gravity. Our boots no longer stuck to the floor because there was no floor. Only a vast sphere, suspended in negative space, with threads of light spiraling toward a distant core like strands of thought trying to remember themselves. We floated inward, pulled not by gravity but by recognition, the sense that this place had been waiting for someone. Not anyone. Us. Lyra called it the Hall of Recollection. She said the word slipped into her head the moment we crossed the threshold. She didn't know why she said it.